This is a story that will absolutely blow your mind. 5 years ago, I thought I had lost the love of my life forever. My name is Alex, and this is about Marcus, the man who shattered my heart and then somehow pieced it back together in the most unbelievable way. We met in college, both studying architecture. Marcus was this incredible mix of confident and vulnerable, the kind of guy who could command a room but still blushed when I told him he was beautiful. For 2 years, we were inseparable. We talked about moving to New York together, starting our own firm, maybe even getting married when it became legal everywhere. I was completely, utterly in love with him. But then senior year happened, and everything fell apart. Marcus started pulling away, canceling dates, avoiding my calls. When I finally cornered him in the library, he looked me dead in the eyes and said the words that haunted me for years. He said he wasn't ready for this kind of relationship, that he needed space to figure himself out. What really killed me was when he said maybe we were better as friends. Friends, after 2 years of planning our entire future together. I was devastated. I watched him graduate, pack up his dorm, and drive away without even saying goodbye. For months, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything. My friends tried to help, but how do you explain losing someone who was your entire world? I threw myself into work after graduation, became this workaholic architect in Chicago. I dated other guys, had a few serious relationships, but nothing ever felt right. There was always this Marcus-shaped hole in my heart that nobody else could fill. Then last month, completely out of nowhere, I got a message on Instagram. It was him, Marcus. After 5 years of radio silence, he was reaching out. His message was simple, but it made my hands shake. He said he was in Chicago for work and asked if I wanted to get coffee. My first instinct was to ignore it, to protect myself from getting hurt again. But curiosity won, and I agreed to meet him at this little cafe downtown. When I walked in and saw him sitting there, it was like time stopped. He looked older, more mature, but still had that same smile that used to make my knees weak. We sat across from each other, and for the first few minutes it was awkward as hell. Then he started talking, and everything changed. He told me about these past 5 years, how he'd been living in denial about who he was and what he really wanted. He said when we were together in college, he loved me so much it terrified him. He wasn't ready to be openly gay, wasn't ready to deal with his family's reaction, wasn't ready to be vulnerable with someone. So he ran. He spent years trying to convince himself he could be happy with women, even got engaged to his female coworker 2 years ago. But he said every time he looked at her, all he could think about was me. He called off the engagement 6 months ago and finally came out to his family. His parents were shocked, but eventually came around, especially his mom, who apparently always suspected. He said he'd been in therapy, working through his fears and his internalized homophobia. Then he looked at me with tears in his eyes and said the words I never thought I'd hear. He said he was sorry for hurting me, that leaving me was the biggest mistake of his life, and that he never stopped loving me. I was speechless. Part of me wanted to scream at him for putting me through 5 years of hell, but another part of me felt this incredible surge of hope. He asked if there was any chance we could try again, if I could ever forgive him for running away from the best thing that ever happened to him. I told him I needed time to think, that I couldn't just jump back into something that had destroyed me before. But over the next few weeks, we started texting, then calling, then meeting for dinner. It was like rediscovering each other all over again. He was still the same Marcus I fell in love with, but he was also this new person who was confident in his identity and ready to fight for what he wanted. 3 weeks ago, he told me he'd been offered a permanent position in Chicago and wanted to know if I thought that was a good idea. I looked at him and realized that despite everything, despite the pain and the years apart, I was still completely in love with him. We're taking it slow, rebuilding trust, working through all the hurt and confusion. But for the first time in 5 years, I feel like I'm home again. Sometimes people need to lose everything to realize what they had. Marcus needed to spend 5 years running from himself to finally run back to me. And maybe, just maybe, we're both ready for the love story we were always meant to have. If you're going through heartbreak right now, if someone you love has walked away, remember that sometimes the story isn't over. Sometimes people come back when they're finally ready to stay. Like and subscribe if this story touched your heart, and remember that love always finds a way.